Welcome to the Dope Dad Podcast. This is an unscripted journey for those who are invested in parenting. There's no judgment, there's no BS, just honest conversation about what it really means to be a dad today. It's raw, it's real, and it's unapologetically dope. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. This is the Dope Dad Podcast. I'm your host, OJ. We're at Podwork Studios, and today I brought another dope dad. You guys already know what it is. We're out here in Mesa, Arizona, man. I am pumped to be here today. My guest today is a very dear friend of mine, somebody that I've known for a decade or so. And man, this dude's been breeding. He's been busy. He's got multiple kids, an independent hustler. When I met him, he was running his own company and doing a bunch of independent stuff, man. Just a absolute amazing human being. Love him. Love the way he dads. Love the way he gets down. My good friend, Ryan Ferris.
Yeah, buddy.
What's up, man?
Yeah, dude. I'm so pumped.
Yeah, dude.
I like this has been something, I was thinking about it the other night, and this has been something that like you and I have always talked. That's what I've loved about you is like, it didn't matter where I met you at, when I knew you in your life, you were always like, you always had a dream for something cool. And like, so when you said you were doing this, last night I was laying in bed going, this is like exactly what he should be doing.
Thanks,
and then
bro.
everything you do, like you do it, like you go in, you know, like, hey, we're doing go-karts. Remember when you were a go-kart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're like, dude, my time's so fucking fast.
Yeah.
And you'd be crazy.
I'm a little guy, bro. So
Yeah.
it's less weight, man. I can navigate those corners pretty easily.
You do these go-kart things, and I'm like, I can't go with you to do these go-karts because you're going to smoke me and I can't let you win.
In front of an audience?
Yeah.
I pretend like it was for the kids, but it was for me.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it's, you know, what's interesting, man, is that like, I'm passionate about parenting, right? I'm passionate about people in general and connections and the love and just the camaraderie. And you know, dude, like being a parent that's my joy, bro.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like completed me, you know, and I've been kind of singing about doing a podcast forever, man.
Yeah.
And this was just a very obvious topic for me. I think now the show's starting to kind of evolve into other things, you know, but you know, ideally, man, I just want people who are pumped about people and connections and down to get raw and real, right? Like let their guard down. I feel like a lot of people, they only show you what you want to see, what they want you to see about them. And the reality is, man, that's not the way that life works. And that's not the way that parenting is. You know, people put this facade on about how great it is and how easy it is. And, we all sit down for family dinner, but some people don't know that, like, you have to fucking bribe your kids to come eat, you know, a steak and veggies. And, you know, it's not like I'm trying to poison you guys. Like, why will you not want to come and sit at my table? So,
right. Well, it's like so much of just managing perception, right?
Nice.
That's what I think we do. I think that's the struggle is that, you know, we're in a time where we're managing perception. Like it's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's TikTok, it's any of that stuff. Like no one's posting when they're throwing up in the toilet because they got the flu from their kid who had boogers running down their face. Yeah. And we're like, this is great, you know, and the ones that the ones that do are like, they're trying to make a show, like something of, you know what I mean? It's like, it's managing that perception. Yeah. And I mean, we're around it all the time. Like, especially where I live, it's like nobody fails. Right. Mm-hmm. Everybody's successful. Every house that's together, their kids don't mess up. There's no issues. And then you come across the street to my house and I got cops pulling up, dropping off my kids in the front, you know, and I'm like, well, there goes the neighborhood, you know, but it's like that. I think that, you know, one thing I learned early was, man, if I'm just trying to manage perception, like I'll never know who I am. And that was it. So I think that's what we do. Like I used to be on Instagram and Facebook, since deleted all that stuff. Not that I think there's good in it, but it's just, man, like I even looked at my stuff and I'm like, oh, it's me shooting guns. It's me off-roading. It's me doing all this stuff with my kids. It's all this great stuff. Not looking at the fact that like a day ago I was ripping my hair out. Yeah. Because I was so stressed out or exhausted and haven't slept in like 3 nights because I'm trying to figure out how to pay the bills. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the social media stuff can be consuming. And especially, I mean, it didn't hit us until we were fucking well into our 20s or 30s, right? Like being in our 40s now, I mean, social media wasn't even a thing growing up, right? But for our kids being involved and exposed to it at such a young age, it will be interesting and potentially alarming to see how it affects them into their 30s and 40s, and maybe they come to that realization, that epiphany too of, I don't know who I am without this facade or with this this kind of Wizard of Oz voice behind the curtain type of approach to social media. So I don't know, man. It will be interesting to see how things evolve in the next 10 and 20 years, man. You got kids that are what ages? Well, hold on. Let's start from the beginning. So I said you've been breeding, man. How many kids you got?
So I've got 5.
Okay.
Yeah, 19, 18. So one's in college, one's graduating this year. Then you jump down to 9 years old, 7 years old, and 4 years old.
Damn. Okay.
So, yeah.
Hands full, man, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like two complete, I would even say it's 3 completely different places in parenting. Yeah. All at once, right? Yeah. Like teenagers who are trying to get independent. And be independent and do their own thing, right? So like my 18-year-old, like I call her my roommate. I'm like, oh, my roommate's home. Like, like makes sense. I see it show up on the video camera. Oh, my roommate just got home, because it's like, she's got the room that's kind of away from everybody downstairs, the only room downstairs, right? And it's like an apartment for her. My son's out doing his college thing. Looks like he's going to go to U of A this year, transfer to U of A, and he's running track. Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, so he's got a scholarship. He's got full ride. They pay kids now. That's fucking awesome. It's his job to train and run. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's cool. He's doing that. My 18-year-old is like the hardest working person I've ever met. Like I've always called her my angel. She's amazing, but she does school. She does EVIT, East Valley Institute of Technology. So that's like a full school program. When she graduates from high school, she'll graduate from EVIT and have her certificate and every license to do esthetician and all that. Oh, that's super dope. So she'll just dive right into a career. Oh yeah. So that's pretty cool. She does palm, cheer, track. I mean, she's like just kids. She's busy. She works. Yeah, she works. What kind of work? She works at, I think it's called Bar 3. Okay. And it's like she does like the kids program. So I think it's like a mom yoga exercise kind of thing. Okay. And so she does the childcare stuff there. Oh, that's what's up. So, yeah. Very dope. So yeah, and then, so that's like one group that are like adults, right, or young adults, and then you got the next that are like, starting to learn a little independence, right? And they're like just running the neighborhood, on their e-bikes everywhere. At least there's a neighborhood that they're out in. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I live in a neighborhood. There's, I guess around the corner and like up, halfway up the street, there's a group of like 15 kids. And they're just like terrorists, bro. They're like everywhere. Yeah. They're like throwing dirt in the street and, splashing water and throwing rocks and shit. And my wife, she always is like, oh, these kids. But I like it. Yeah. There's something about it for me that I'm like, that's what they're supposed to be doing, right? Like they're supposed to be like, climbing over fences and throwing rocks and jumping their bikes and building fucking crazy jumps in the middle of the street, right? And just seeing what happens. Break a couple bones. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. That's what happens when you're a kid. But I do like the fact that your kids are out doing that in the neighborhood. Oh, yeah. That's super dope. Yeah. Yeah, I'll come out and they're at the street sign, like the stop sign at the kind of the end of my street, and it sounds like there's an explosion going off and they have a baseball bat hitting the stop sign. Yeah. We're like, what are you guys doing? You're 9 years old. Yeah. Being kids, man. I love you and I hate you all at the same time. Yeah. I mean, no, it's just, and like I can see neighbors staring through the windows, like, what are these kids doing? Yeah, there's Ryan and his fucking terrorist kids again. They're out there just ripping it up, but it's the kids. I mean, that's the best part about my neighborhood. That was the thing that like I fought for this house. I fight for to live there because it's like my kids literally doors are open and they just stay open all day. That's and dope. Kids run from house to house to house and like it's just incredible. So I mean it is tough to find neighborhoods with that same kind of like culture to it, right? Like that same old school feel where everybody's kind of safe, and if somebody's like cruising down the street, you guys are like watching out for each other's kids or property and stuff like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's awesome, man. Like I definitely been blessed with that community. Like it's just what city is it? It's Gilbert. It's a little community called Morrison Ranch. Okay. And it's like that, what everybody calls it, like white picket fence community. There's a white fence around it and all that. Like, it's just a cute community, but it's like good people, good, good atmosphere, safe. Yeah. It's like you said, someone comes in and like dads are running down the street with shotguns. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you're not from around here? You're not welcome here. Yeah. So it's fun, man.
Right on, dude. Yeah. And then your youngest.
So that's Rivers. He's 4. He is, God, like, I would say he's one of the most amazing kids you'll ever meet. Been through more than most adults have ever been through. Got some health issues. Got had some several surgeries.
At 4.
Started at 2.
Damn.
Yeah. And so, but he's just off that. Like we just finished up a series of it. We go weekly to Sacramento, 'cause there's only 2 doctors in the country that specialize in what he's got. And so one's in Sacramento, one's in Florida. So the Sacramento one makes more sense. Mm-hmm. Got round 1 done, went through the surgeries, did all the stuff, went weekly, then relapsed this year. And so we started it again, and we're just wrapping up that. Like, he's in braces in his legs now. And you would never know, like, the kid just thinks it wouldn't stop him. He's had so many surgeries and all this stuff, but he's the first kid to climb the counter and jump off and be like, "Dad, watch," and then jump off the counter onto his like legs that are fresh surgeryed, and like, "Let's go." And he's just one of those kids, man. He's got a smile. His smile's ridiculous. Like, he's just got a smile that, like, it'll change your life. Like, you see it, he's just got those eyes and that smile. So he's awesome. He's, we still have some health issues. We've got some stuff that, is kind of some, maybe on the spectrum where he's still pretty young to test. So we're trying to figure out what that looks like. We have him in some special needs classes and stuff to try to work through and see if he can grow through some of this. So, yeah, I mean, but he's awesome. I mean, it's just, a wild child. Like,
when a kid smiles and you're like, dude, it's life-changing, right? Like, it like restores your faith in humanity, right? Like, to see a kid smile. And it's interesting because we get so caught up in like all the fucking issues, there's an element of stress that, we'll never even want them to see, but the reality is, like, it's challenging, bro. We got a lot on our plates. We stress out. And then you look at a young child, man, and they're just so happy to be here, right?
Yeah.
So happy to be alive. Like, the smallest things in life, I mean, like the biggest, it means so much to them. It almost makes you feel ashamed that you're like so stressed out and like worried about the tedious shit. You're like, bro, thank you. Like, thank you for helping like realign me, man. Like,
I mean, it's something that only a parent can get, right? Like, I always, like, if you talk to my mom, she would tell you oh, Ryan has always just wanted to be a dad. And as a kid growing up, like, I always just wanted to be a dad. And I did. I just loved it, man. Like, I just loved being around kids. I love the energy. I love just the pure excitement for anything. Like, I like, in my neighborhood, I have like a wall full of skateboards, right? Mm-hmm. Built this rack and it's got all these skateboards on it. And every skateboard you can imagine, right? And all the neighbor kids come over, and every one of them I taught how to skateboard. And it's just like, they come to the house, my garage is always open. They come, they grab a skateboard and they're just ripping down the street. And like, just to see that, like, the face, right? Where I think white people coach and stuff, it's like, you just see that excitement when they've achieved something, right? Like, when we're trying to just survive, right? And they're able to put 2 feet on a skateboard, cruise down the street, and they're thriving, right? And we're in survival mode, and they're in thrive mode all the time. So I think that's like the most powerful thing in all of it, is just like watching these kids evolve, watching them like just achieve the smallest little thing, right? But to them, it's their world. In that moment, they know nothing else other than, I just got 2 feet on a skateboard and I'm like going 0.1 mile an hour, but I've done it. Like, I've achieved it. It'd be the same feeling we have if we ran a marathon.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not running any marathons soon,
No, bro. I might crawl a marathon.
yeah, like I'll go and stand at the finish line and jump in, like at the end and get the medal. Like, how do I do
Push
this?
somebody
Like,
out the way, give me the number, bro.
yeah. And like I'll totally do. I'll watch the one who's like wobbly legs, right at the end. I'm like, yeah, jack him and just take the number and like I did it, record time,
Number 320.
Like he's not even sweating. Like, I don't know.
Shit.
So
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I remember teaching my kids how to swim. I don't even know how to swim. Like I can not drown for a limited amount of time. I grew up in Washington, bro. Like you don't fucking get in that water.
Yeah,
it's cold and rocky and relentless. And you look at it, or you go out on a boat.
Yeah,
you fish, but you don't like swimming. There's like seaweed and shit. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
But I taught my kids how to swim.
Yeah.
And watching them learn how to swim and that independence and that like that victory being claimed at the side of a 4-foot pool, you're right, man. It is, it's inspiring to see them be so mesmerized and happy about the small things in life where we get so caught up in the other things,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the push, right? Like it's like for us, I think it's the push that says that my shit's not that important. Right? Like my chaos in my life, the chaos in my brain, the chaos in work and everything else. Like I think it's just that, like watching them figure something out is as rewarding for us as a dad, as a parent, as it is, or even anybody for that matter, but especially your kids. Like I think that's as inspiring. And like we thrive in that moment.
Hell yeah.
Like my daughter, her name's Brinley. She's 7 and she's like, she's one of the guys. She can hang with the boys and watching her, like they'll go down to the park and play baseball. And she ends up cracking one that goes like 5 feet. Not that, but she's like, Dad, you see that? I blasted that. I'm like, yeah, baby, you did it. And like, it's just
that shit.
Yeah. And she didn't even make it to first base, but she's like, I did it, Dad. And you just, there's like that accomplishment, regardless of what level it is, if it's a home run or if it's 5 feet, like they did something. And and that inspires me. Like, I think for me, at least it's like, then I look at my life and I go, I don't know, like I got them, right? Like this is all the other shit and chaos and noise and static doesn't matter when I'm with them, right?
I wonder at what point that changes for us, right? Like there's like a transitional phase where all of a sudden you're an adult and you're consumed by the responsibilities and needs of, financial responsibilities or needs of the business that you work for or whatever. Like, so for a kid to jump in the pool and try to swim, 10 feet is the same, I guess, fear that I had even launching this podcast and trying to do something, right? Because I've been wanting to do this, man. Like I'm excited to do this. I think there's, opportunity for this to go long term. But I just tell my kid, just jump in. Just jump in. Like you'll never know unless you jump in. But here I am on the opposite end, being a bitch and afraid to jump in on something that I wanted to do.
Well, because we've been bounced. You've been bounced. Right? Like I admit one of the best things I've ever heard from a guy. Now it's probably in my maybe 20, and I was like, how do I get good? Like, how do I get good at this? And I'm we're ambitious. We're trying to start careers. We're trying to do all this stuff, and this older guy just is like, you'll never be good until you get bounced. And I was like, well, what's bounced mean? Like, didn't know what he was talking about.
You'll find out.
He was like, you're going to figure it out. And then you won't ask me what bounced is.
Yeah.
And then you get bounced and it's like, oh, it's like my head was the basketball and it was thrown down on the concrete. And then, okay, I got it.
Yeah, left some money back there too.
Yeah. That all sucks. Right. And then, but I think that's the part of it for us is like, we get bounced and then it hurts. So then we back off or we put up a protective barrier. Yeah. And we use it. It's funny, like as like the last couple of years have been super evolving for me, like trying to, like, I know myself better today than I've ever known myself in my entire life. Having said that, the last 2 years have been the hardest 2 years of my life. Yeah. But it's that refining, right? But how do you get refined? It's like go through the fire. right? And then that's what makes the clay a jar. And so I think that like we get bounced. We the two reactions we could have is put up walls, protect ourselves so we don't feel that pain again, or we look it dead on and say, this sucked more than anything else, and I never want to feel this again. So I got to figure out a way to get better.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's the hardest stuff for being a dad and being a parent and being a husband and being all of those things. Like, and then trying to take on a work life and then trying to take on challenges, because like you said, you jump into this and you dive into something, and you're telling your kids to jump in the pool, but you're saying like, oh, I've been wanting to do this, but I'm kind of, I don't know, scared to do it. It's a commitment. It's all these different things. It's like, but you've been bounced. So since you've experienced that, you want to put up a wall or protect it so you don't hurt yourself. And now you have the responsibility to not hurt your family.
And that's the thing too, right? Like, it's like, I have to be cautious of how I move, because the decisions that I make, the financial decisions that I make, the way that I spend my time, it doesn't just affect me, right? Like, it affects, 4 other people, and ultimately can have some serious long-term effects and
absolutely,
outcomes to it. So I don't know, like I do want to be exemplary in the sense that I want to be able to move in a way that my kids see that they're like, okay, he talks about it, but he also moves about it, right? Like, he does what he says. There's integrity behind it. So if I say, hey, have the courage, trust in yourself, roll the dice on yourself, jump in the pool, you can do it. I have to then turn around and exemplify those qualities too, and say, hey man, like I'm ready to do this for myself as well.
Yeah, right? You got to lead by example.
Yeah, they got to be able to see that.
Yeah, 100%. But that's the thing that, like, I mean, that's the scariest place to be, though.
Yeah. I mean, dude, what goes on in a grown-up's head is a very, very dangerous prison, unless you're in a really, really good headspace. But I mean, just to circle back, I mean, for the viewers, the listeners, and obviously for you and I, man, like, the last 2 years for you have been fucking crazy. Yep. And for a lot of people, like in my close circle, 2024 sucked. That was arguably one of the worst years in history for like people that are close to me and my circle. And I don't know why, like it was worse than COVID. COVID threw like a bunch of, different like monkey wrenches and made it like challenging for you to kind of navigate, because it was like a different world. But 24 just like shit on people.
Yeah, it's like The Hangover.
It was awful. Yeah, it was awful, man. So
it was like COVID hangover. All the shit that was happening pre-COVID and then during COVID, and then 24 comes and it's like now you're hungover from all of that shit, and then all the regular stuff. But no, it was 24 was hands down the worst year of my life. Yeah.
Go 25. This is your year, bro.
This is my year. I mean, and it is like, it's the change, but it's mindset change, right? Like I had to do everything. Like I'm not ashamed of any of it. Like, like I go to counseling weekly. I go to, I went and got to doctors, to specialists, got all my shit regulated. Like, where am I at emotionally, mentally? Because I was depressed. And, it was those moments in your life where like you start having the really hard internal conversation where you're like wondering, like, what am I doing all of this for? Right. And then you get beat up along the way. And then when you're beat up from the people you thought loved you unconditionally or the most, it changes you, right? And it's like, for me, you could be bitter or you could be better. That's like my mindset now. But, going through it was, how do I live? Like, how do I wake up today and take this breath? And it was, my goal through 24 was like, just get 1 good hour a day. Get 1 good hour. If you can get 1 good hour in that day, then you'll be all right. And so I had to strive to get 10 minutes of just not in depression, not in a lost place. And
where'd you find it? Where were the 10 minutes at?
Nowhere. I didn't find it. I mean, I cried constantly. I tapped in to some of my people, right, to some like family. You know, I prayed a prayer of restoration for 24. 24 was my constant prayer of restoration, and was just begging for restoration. And the restoration I was begging for was to restore my family, right? Had a wife, didn't want to be married to me anymore, you know, had been married for a while, that just felt completely out of love and with me, and you know, having to face that was brutal.
Out of nowhere?
No, you know, I think that there's always building, like things that you're building on, and you know, things that you like. There's definitely stuff that I think I failed in as a husband, as a leader. You know, I got into survival mode, right, in life, right. So I you know, and you know a lot of this stuff, but just for context purposes, you know, left a company that I was a big part of, had to start with another company and start at that was already existing, and had to start and prove myself at a place that was fairly established. And so I did, and, you know, quickly kind of built up to the vice president of that company. But in order to keep that and build that and prove my worth with people who've been there for 15 years. And I'm some young guy who comes in and as like just getting all kinds of movement really quick, really fast. You know, it required 80 hours a week, right?
And that's the answering the phone at the dinner table. That's working the weekends.
Constant.
10, 12, 14, 16-hour shifts.
Yeah. And you're proving yourself. And in my mind, I'm doing it to provide for my family, for my kids. I need this. We need this. Mm-hmm. This is how we keep the house, you know, the roof over our heads. This is how we survive. So my intentions were there, you know, for the right purposes. I wasn't going out and buying Porsches and Ferraris and, you know, taking lavish vacations. I was just trying to pay bills, right? And I was just trying to do all the things to survive. So in my mind, I was doing the right thing. In reality, I lost sight. I was so consumed in leadership in my work life that I left the leadership in my personal life out. And I think, you know, I that caused a lot of conflict. I think I had somebody, you know, my wife at the time was needing more from me than I could give, you know, and then you compound all the health issues of my kids, and you compound the chaos of having, you know, a big family. I mean, at one point there were 9 people living in my house, and I'm the only person making money. And so you have to feed 9 people. Yeah, you have to take care of 9 people. It required a lot, right? And you know, and then the challenges of that, right? Like my ex-wife has 2 kids she brought into the marriage. I had 2 kids we brought into the marriage. And then we had our 3. So that's 7 kids at one time under one roof. And the 4 older ones were teenagers. And so, you know, the boys are eating me out of house and home, you know, crush 3 gallons of milk a day for cereal, you know, like just like my bill, my grocery bill, like people ask, and I'm like, yeah, I could have had a Ferrari. Yeah. Like I could have made a Ferrari payment.
Yeah, Costco has a Ferrari.
Yeah. Like, right. Like I got the Power Wheels Ferrari, you know. Yeah. So it's you know, so there's a lot of pressure, and that I think where the failure was communication and on expectations, right? Like if we would have talked about things, if we would have expressed things, if we would have communicated on things, you know, we had some of the kids were getting in some trouble. We had the health issues. We had all this different stuff going on, all these different dynamics going on around us. And we just stopped communicating about our needs. And so we just talked about like that. My expectations were that the house and kids would be taken care of. I'll take care of everything else. And I think the other expectations on her side were, I need you to lead. I need you to lead this house. I need you to take some leadership with the kids.
The kids that are getting in trouble. I need you to be here to discipline and correct that behavior.
Yeah.
The child that's ill, I need you to comfort me and tell me that everything's going to be okay. And
yeah, and just failed, man.
what were your needs? Just to have the freedom to do what you thought was necessary, and for her to maintain a comfortable home for you to walk back into?
I think leading into the fallout is, that my needs were just to have the house, the kids, like all those things taken care of so that I can go and kill it on this level, and I think then when I realized things were falling apart and it was getting bad, my needs changed to like, I have emotional needs I didn't even know about. And then I started looking inside and was like, man, like I need this woman to love me. I need this woman to, I want her to respect me, and she doesn't respect me. Like I'm just a provider at this point, and trying to, I think men, we operate like, where women in our lives, they need that assurance that you're there, you're going to be there, you're going to be a provider, but you're also going to be a lover, right? And they need that affection, they need to see love, they need to feel love, they need to do that. And guys do too. We just don't, like ours looks different, like our big needs are, I feel like for men is we want to be respected where we're at. We want to be looked at as like we get home, they know the work we put in, right? I mean, because we're, guys, we're mostly for the, like, depending on what your love language is, we're results driven. Like it's about logic and results. And then you take the wife, right? And, or significant other, typically you have the results logically driven mindset, and then you have the emotional. And, then the other one's the emotional mindset. And you need that to balance a house. Because if you just have logic and respect, it's the military.
Yeah.
Right? But if you just have emotion and no logic, it's like chaos. Like, you kind of lose control. Right?
Yeah.
So there's that balance. And so I think that's where really I failed. It's like bringing some of that back to the house, bringing some of that leadership that is needed there. And
so as the man, the marriage is falling apart and the management of the relationship seems to kind of be in chaos. Where are the kids at? Like, what's happening with the kids? Did you notice anything happening with the kiddos? Obviously, you said the teenagers are potentially running amok or getting into trouble or making shitty decisions. Like,
yeah.
Did you notice that there were other things happening with the kids that were a result of the lack of communication?
I do now. Like we feel it now. Like I can feel the strain. I can feel the struggle. I can feel the hurt a lot more now. And the older kids, our dynamic was a little different, and so because we had other parents involved, right? Like my kid's mom is like they spend half their time with her, and so it was like kind of a 50-50 situation. So it was always really like hard for us to figure out what parenting role we take in the other's life, right? Like another guy told me, I asked him, when I was getting married and to my ex, and I was like, hey, give me your best advice, because he had been in that. He had, hers, mine, ours, right? And he was like, that's always going to be your biggest argument. It's not going to be finances. It's not going to be this. It's always going to be hers, mine, ours. And so you have to figure out how you deal with that. And that was it. That was always our fight was your kids, my kids, our kids. And, it's hard to figure out how to parent the other kid. They don't, there's always like, you're not my dad or you're not my mom. Right.
Dude, it's actually, it's crazy because that came up in another podcast. Did your kids respect her?
My son didn't care for her much. you know, they were definitely on a different, like they just couldn't click. And that's her fault, right? Like I will place fault where fault is due. And that it always, for me, it comes down to the parent. Like you can't expect a kid who is kind of being torn in two different ways half the time, right? Each time, half their life they're being pulled this direction, half their life they're being pulled that direction, and they're a kid.
Right.
So you can't expect them to know what to do. They don't have the experience. It falls on the parent or the step parent, you know? Like when you marry me, you're marrying my children, and it's on you to try to relate. It's on you to make that effort, not them. Like they don't know they need to make that effort. And anybody who tries to challenge that with me, it's fine. You're welcome to your opinion. But it is always on the other. It's on the parent, never on the kid. And so that didn't really happen with mine, right?
What about on the opposite spectrum with her children? Because you said her two oldest from a previous marriage were both boys?
A girl and then a boy.
Gotcha. Yeah. And what was the relationship dynamic with you with them?
So the youngest
was their dad in the picture?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm. And so the youngest boy was a boy, and him and I, like, you know, for a long time he called me dad. I was dad. You know, and he will always be my son. To me, it sucks because we're not communicating. You know, but he had always called me dad. I mean, I had him since he was like 3 or 4. And, you know, and we did everything. Like I was on his first hunt, you know, he got his first deer with him. Like it was one of the proudest moments of my life, watching him, you know, just achieve some awesome things. And, so he's incredible, and it just kind of sucks, you know, like we're just, his dad kind of came back into his life a number of years ago. And there's that balancing act where I want to step out, like allow him to have that relationship with his biological father. And so there's that, and then the daughter who's 20, you know, she's so smart, so intelligent, awesome heart, all of those things. Just a bit older, and so just kind of, you know, very independent girl, and you know, unfortunately, you know, like she should always have her mom's back, and I'll never badmouth her mom or her mom to her or anything like that. So, you know, I think, you know, she's pulled back
Through the divorce. She's kind of on mom's side supporting.
Yeah, which she should, you know, and I'd expect nothing less from her.
Yeah,
she should, you know, regardless.
And so you still have, I mean, 3 at the house. Mm-hmm. What's that dynamic like? I mean,
dude, chaos.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm exhausted. Like it's legit the most, because now I'm playing both roles. Right.
Does it make you respect the stay-at-home person more, or view that role differently now that you're staying at home and working?
Dude, it makes me respect marriage or partnership.
Yeah.
Like so much more.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was always work, right? Kids are always work. Parenting's always tough. You're always going through so many different things, but it made me respect like just how important having both in the house, because now I'm playing both roles, right?
Yeah.
And like, fortunately I can work from home. I can do these different things and at times. And so like the schedule's 50-50. I just came off the long week, right? So it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, take them to school. Then the ex picks them up, and she's got them, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And so it just came off the long run, and it is like, oh man, I mean, I'm just exhausted.
For sure, dude. I think it's easy to think too, like when you're working, you're not the one that's at home, right? So you're like, hey, give the kid a sandwich.
Yeah.
You know, let them kind of do whatever they're going to do around the house, clean up a little bit. Like it shouldn't be that hard, right?
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, like my wife and I are always going through it. Dude, one of my kids was just sick over the weekend.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to like break that fever and manage, you know, all of that. And then trying to get 3 kids to eat the same thing is,
oh yeah,
it's like a fucking riddle, you know?
right.
So
yeah.
as soon as she's better, my next kid gets sick, and now she's got a fever. So I'm like dealing with the school. I'm still taking this one to school. They go to different schools, so it's like pick up, drop off, all the coordinating, and they're human beings. It's not like you just give them a TV and a TV dinner, and you're like, yo, do your thing. I'll be back in 5 hours. Like it doesn't work like that. There's still the connection. There's still the bonding. There's still the growth, the education, like everything else that goes along with that relationship.
Yeah, and their attitude. Right?
Like that's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole, But I mean, it's like, then you got to manage that, right? Like you got to manage that. It's not just like all the work. There's so much physical, like exertion to make it happen. But then it's the emotional.
Dude,
like
I respond poorly to that. I'm gonna be honest, bro. Like my wife, thank God, dude, because I take that shit personal.
100%.
When there's attitude, like I don't know why I can't just cope and deal with it. I take it mad personal, bro. I'm like, I know what I put into this relationship. Like, what the fuck is this? My wife's like, dude, just ignore him. Like, she's starting shit. Like, I'm supposed to just walk away. She's starting shit, man.
Yeah, she's stepping up. Like, I got to establish dominance.
Dude.
This is prison rules in this house. Like
it really is.
Like, you let them become an alpha, and you know the inmates take over.
Oh yeah, dude, give her an inch. I already know what's going to happen here. I'm not getting any dessert for the next month, bro. I already know how this shit goes.
Yeah. Well, so then how do you manage that? Like, because you've got 3 girls, right?
I do. Yeah.
So no boys. You're the only dude in the house.
I'm feeling pretty feminine right now, bro. I gotta be honest. I got 3 boy dogs, and they are like super gay for each other, man.
Yeah. And, so you're just
and so it's like a lot of emotion through the house.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I think I've been a lot more emotional in the last like couple of years.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Watching my kids get a little bit older, watching my marriage continue to grow, my wants and needs starting to change, man. And I don't know, maybe I'm starting to be more in tune with my own personal development and emotions. Like I want to tap into who I really am. And so I think I've been being more like vulnerable lately, which is super uncomfortable, but at the same time, like very rewarding.
Absolutely.
Because historically, you know, like you man up, you don't show your emotions and stuff like that. But I think having so many women around me, it's really put me in a position to alter the way that I communicate and the way that I view situations and things like that. So I definitely am more vulnerable, emotional, exposed, you know, and
raw.
And maybe the last like 4 or 5 years. Yeah, for sure, man. And I don't know, man. It's having daughters is amazing, bro. Like I couldn't imagine a life without just my girls. You know what I mean?
Right.
I feel ultra heroic a lot of the time. Like I like being like that motherfucker. You know what I mean? It makes me feel really, really good. It also makes me feel helpless when they're going through some female stuff, you know, some lady things that I don't understand or I don't know how to help them navigate. And my role is to listen and not to provide advice or you know, a security blanket or be this like pillar of masculinity. I have to sit there. And that's
it's tough.
Yeah, man, it really is, dude. It's it makes you feel kind of helpless.
Yeah. Well, you're a fixer, right? Like, I mean, I think by nature you're a fixer. My experience with you has always been you're always one of those guys that's been hands-on, like in work and in your personal life. You've always been the guy who like if you ask somebody to do something, you're going to do it first and you're not going to ask anybody to do anything you weren't willing to do. I mean, you know, I'm not going to not put this out there entirely, but you know, even, you know, possibly catching a restaurant on fire.
Yeah. Almost
catching on fire. No, but I mean, but
thank you to firemen for the record. Firemen came through in the clutch, man.
They saved the day,
bro.
But what was it? It wasn't from you being dumb. It was from you stepping up and taking on more work. Yeah. Right. And so I think like you by nature, and I think most men are fixers, right?
Yeah. I mean, immediately there's a problem. Get out of the way. I'm here.
How do I get it done?
Yeah, I'm going to save the day.
Yeah.
This is my shit.
Well, that's it. Like we have the savior mentality and the fixer mentality, right? And I think that's ingrained in all men. Like in people in general. Don't want to take away from, I mean, I know some amazing women who like run circles around me, right? But just I think in men, like we want to fix something. Something's broken. Somebody breaks my daughter's heart, right? Or breaks her toy.
That shit sucks.
Right? Like, I mean, it's like either way, we're trying to
worst.
fix it. We just don't know how, right? And when your daughter cries, and they're crying from, so my daughter, her name's Brinley, and I mean, she's just this incredible, beautiful soul. She's all kinds of zest and fire as well. But she did this thing and it crushed me. And I've never been the same from it. I think I had to like discipline her, right? Like use the dad voice. Like, Brinley, you are not allowed to do that. No more. And she just eyes welt up, and tears start flowing. I go, what's wrong? And she's like, Daddy, you just hurt my heart.
Oh, fuck.
Dude, you hurt your own daughter's heart.
Yeah.
You hurt anybody's heart, it sucks. You hurt your daughter's heart, and you hear those words, and man, I had never been like, let's go get a pony.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want? I'm gonna get you like, okay, I can fix this. What do we
discipline myself first.
Yeah. Oh, you're such a horrible dad. Like,
I've had probably 2 of those where I like raise my voice at the girls.
yeah.
Probably say some out of pocket shit because I got a shifty temper.
Yeah.
Go to the room, cry.
Yeah. Oh,
Fuck. Can't believe it. I'm at a point now, though, in my parenting, man, where, like, if I feel like I fucked up, I own that.
yeah.
I own that. There was a situation with my daughter. I've been doing a lot of the laundry. My wife's been taking on, like, a shit ton of work, man. She's grinding. She's hustling. She normally does the laundry. I'm like, dude, I'll take that over. Kind of wish I didn't. Like, laundry for 5 people fucking sucks.
Dude, it's horrible.
It's awful. And girls, throw on a shirt, walk around the house. 30 minutes later, we're going to the store. Take that shirt off. That shit's dirty.
Yeah.
But it's not dirty. I'm like,
Yeah.
Anyways, neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I'm doing the laundry. I fold everything up. It's nice. It's neat. I got it in stacks. I'm like, hey, shorty, come in, grab your stuff. She comes in, grabs her stuff. I'm like, put it away, please. She's like, yeah, got you. So I go in the room, maybe like the next day or something, and there's the laundry on her bed, tipped over. Half of it's like wrinkled. And I was so, I don't know why, like I took it personal, right? Like I took it personal. And I was offended, bro. I was pissed off.
Yeah.
It's like it's a respect thing. It's the principle, man.
Right.
It had nothing to do with the laundry. It's the principle. But I told her, you know what? Sometimes I just wish you cared. And I fucking walked out. I shut the door.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it very far, man. I think I made it like out, towards the laundry room. I'm probably like in the little patio area. And I was like, fuck. Man, I was like, that was bad form, dude.
Yeah.
And so I walk back. I knock on the door and I open it. And she's still sitting in the same spot she was in when I walked out of the room.
Yeah.
So I know that shit hurt.
Yeah.
And she just kind of like looks up at me and I was like, can we talk? Like I came in, I was like, yo, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. That was fucked up. And that was wrong, bro. Like that was a cheap shot, And she's like, it's okay. I'm like, hold up. Like, it's not.
Right.
Like it's not okay. It's not okay for me to talk to you like that. And it's not okay for me to say some hurtful shit like that because I was trying to hurt you. Like what I meant to say, what I think I was trying to convey to you is that this is important to me.
Yeah.
Right? It was important to me that I asked you to do this. And when I said sometimes I wish you care, I think what I meant to say was sometimes I wish the things that were important to me
were important to you
as well.
Yeah.
Right? But you're a kid and this isn't a big deal to you. And I understand that. But when I ask you to do something like that's important to me, I want to try to find a way for you to understand that it's important to me and respect that. Because if there's something that's important to you, like I want to be able to support that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like immediately I'm trying to correct my actions because I don't want to be this explosive fucker that hurts my kiddo and then has to deal with it and then is on the hook for a pony or
right.
or whatever the case may be because I don't want to be that dude that just like flashes on the kids, man. Like I want to be able to be like more tactful, well thought, like more structured, more well spoken. Well, you're provide a comfort for them.
You're setting the example for who they're gonna marry.
Oh.
Right? I mean, I'm sorry to hit you with that.
Man.
I mean, but like when people hit me with
there's
that,
more me out there.
Yeah, there's.
Fuck, man.
So I mean, the daughter's first love's their daddy.
Yeah.
Right. So you're setting that like who they're gonna marry. or who they're not going to marry. Right. So, I mean, that both are really heavy burdens, because what if they don't marry you? Then you're like, if right.
I don't know if the viewers or the listeners can see my silence, but that was heavy, bro.
Yeah. What if she doesn't marry you? Or what if she does marry you? So the responsibility for you to either be those two things is there. So you like, I'm preaching to myself, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, I've got an 18-year-old daughter who's, graduating high school and doing that whole thing. And thank God, like, she hasn't had any kind of like serious boyfriend or anything, but, just because she's been so busy, and I love that, because it's like idle hands get in trouble, right? Yeah. So, but I think about this girl, my angel, who's she gonna marry? And is she gonna marry me? And if she does, that sucks for her. So I got to be better, right? Or what if she doesn't? She marries the opposite.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
On both counts. Mm-hmm. However, you're an exemplary man. And I think the fact that you're in your 40s and you're still pursuing being the best version of yourself, bro, trying to be a better dude, taking ownership for, personal decisions and maybe poor decisions is huge, man. Because if you look around, there's not a lot of people that are doing that shit. Not a lot of people are interested in changing or being a better person, right? Like whether it's, this side or that side, like, it doesn't matter. Not a lot of people are interested in like individual growth. And, like you talked earlier about going and doing counseling and trying to like understand, that's fucking huge. Men's mental health has always been pretty backseat, overlooked, not taken serious, meant to be just kind of tucked away and never really like explored or resolved. And I think that there is extreme value in people trying to understand the way that we're wired and how we're going to respond to situations and why we respond certain ways. Because if you can apply that and communicate that to your children, to your, your next significant other or whatever the case may be, like, you run a higher probability of success and being a better partner if you know how you're wired.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, you were 100% right. And I mean, it's kind of like how we run a business, right? Like we're not running a business to fail. I'm not investing time, money, and all that stuff into this business so that it can fail and not succeed. Mm-hmm. And I'm not running, time, energy, and money into a business to just so that I can be rich. Like, I'm running because this is my passion project, right? So the realization for me is that I've got to be willing to do this for me before I can do it for anybody else. And the reality was I wanted to die. Like, the change came when the realization that I don't want to live. This is not what I thought my life was going to look like. This is not what I wanted. This isn't how I wanted my life to be. And I don't want to feel this way.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, really, like, how do I wake up this morning and say, not just like, because I got tired of it, man. I got tired of waking up in the morning and going, how do I try to have one good hour a day? And I hated that. And then, you start looking really internally and go, this pain is so deep. The hurt is so deep. The pressure's massive. Like, and this is nothing towards single moms raising kids, right? And working and doing that. This is not a knock towards that whatsoever. I respect so many, I respect women in so many ways, and the women that are doing it on their own, doing that, it's incredible. Like, because I'm doing it as a man, and it's so hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And so I don't knock it, but like yesterday I was watching the news, getting ready in the morning for work, and I'm watching the news, and there's a story about a bill that's going to pass that's going to offer single moms who are working this huge tax deduction. And it just made me think of that. Like, it made me think of, like, in that moment where I'm sitting there like, but what about dads? Yeah. Like, what about the single dads? And again, not knocking or taking anything from single moms, but it's that realization that, like, and I have another buddy who's going through a really tough divorce and going through hell, really. And it's that evaluation of where a man's at, where the pressure that is on when you're in this kind of partnership relationship that falls on the man to be the logical one, because logic's hard, dude. Like, logic is a really tough place to be and have, because emotionally, like, I can just get in my emotions and my feels, right? And I can fix everything with just a hug, or a kiss on the forehead or something.
But the reality is,
like, I got a marathon to run and I have not trained, right? And there's no training for it. And so I just think, like, the struggle with men's mental health right now is real. I mean, it's like, for me, it wasn't, I sought out, like, hormone doctors to regulate, like, my hormone levels, because I just was like, I can't keep living this way. I've got these beautiful angels that need me to be here to be the kind of guy my daughters marry. And so I had to sit there and stare it right in the face, myself in the mirror, right? And stare at right in my own eyes and go, who are you? How are you going to be? How do you get better from this, not worse? Because I was worse. And, I had some good advice from a buddy of mine named Brad. You know him, one of the old owners. And he had just told me, because he had gone through it, and he was like, look, man, don't do anything stupid. Don't fuck up during this time. And I was like, oh, what's that mean? And he was like, don't get a DUI. Don't do drugs. Don't go and do stupid shit where you're going to ruin your opportunities to be the best dad you can. And I was just like, oh, fantastic. I mean, it was like, yeah, that's so basic, like, such basic information. But it was like, man, how many people do you know with DUIs right now?
So many.
Like, it's insane,
Do you
right?
drink?
I will have the beer. Like, I'll have a beer. I'm not a hard alcohol drinker.
Yeah.
I'll have a beer, and like with dinner or something, but I'm not a big drinker. I don't do drugs or anything like that. Like, I don't smoke weed, and not, I mean, it's whatever people's choice. I'm just, for me, in my mental headspace and where I'm at, was like, I need to be as clear and strong as I can. So I did, like, what I did was I got to the gym, I got physical, right? Had to burn some of this off.
Yeah. Release some of that fucking anger.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, dude, I like, and I think for guys, like, anger is really just a cover for hurt a lot of times.
It also can be, like, morphed into a motivator, right?
100%.
Rage mode, man, will make you a superhuman for, small bursts.
Yeah, absolutely. Which we need to be.
Yeah.
We need to be for our kids, for our children, for our lives. We need to be aggressive men who are willing to fight, kill, and survive. Do anything we can to protect our families.
And for your own mental wealth. Health and well-being, like, you have to be able to dig deep and find that strength and that energy from somewhere, right? Because being super emotional and being vulnerable, like, it has its downsides too, right? Because it makes you weak, not in the sense of, like, not strong, but weak in the sense of like tired, like, it's exhausting, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's so tough. And you feel like a lack of motivation and a lack of, like, desire to do things or continue, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's crazy, I got a good homeboy who struggled with, mental health for a long time, man. And I knew, but I didn't know the depth of his struggle. And, we would talk all the time. He doesn't live in state, but he went off grid, bro. And he went off grid for, like, months. And I think I knew kind of what was going on. And we used to talk, every other week, and I would, like, check in, text message, whatever. And he just vanished.
Yeah.
And about, 6-7 months later, he popped up and he's like, hey, I'm back, like, dark times. I'm like, I know. I'm like, you good? You need anything?
Right.
No. But through this time, like, it's crazy. Like, he didn't even attempt to call, right? It's like his phone stopped working or something, you know? And I didn't understand it. And he was like, you know, I got, you know, suicidal for a while there. And I was like, man, like, I get that. And we hung up. But the reality was, like, I didn't get it. I was like, how could shit get so bad that that's where you went, that's what you were thinking about? Like, it didn't make sense to me. Like, I couldn't comprehend. It didn't click. And I felt bad for saying that, like, I understood when I didn't, right? Yeah. And I never understood.
Yeah.
Until I did.
Right.
Until I fucking did. Yeah. Out of nowhere, I went into depression. I don't know what happened.
How old were you?
My life was good. 40.
Okay.
40, 42.
Yeah.
You know, just a couple years ago, I started struggling with depression, and I would like, dude, it got dark. Like, it would get overwhelming. You start to question your value, your worth, what you're bringing to the table. Is there recognition? It became daunting, man. And I think without the validation or the understanding, the connection, you start to question your self-worth.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, the mental health stuff really kicks into play, right? Because when guys go off grid, they go dark, man. Yeah. You start thinking the worst, like, pretty much right away. Yeah. It's not like a gradual thing. It's just like, you know, like this fucking way down there.
Yeah. Right.
You
right.
know?
Yeah. I mean, it's like you look at suicide rates and of accomplished suicides, right? Like a successful suicide, which I hate even saying. Every suicide should be an unsuccess, but it's who have actually like committed suicide, and that the rate in men is like from attempts to successfully ending their life is so much higher in men than it is in women. And it's not anything against the women. It's just that when I think a guy gets to that place, because we're achievers, right? We're like, we're doing it. Like we've gotten to the point where you're just, that's now the mission.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the only outcome.
Yeah. And it's brutal, man. And it's like, and you have to, like, if you don't do the things, I mean, it's like AA, right? There's all those steps. And you got to do the steps. And if you're not doing all the steps, you can't do step 1, 2, and then go to step 9. And like there reason it's a step, it's because it's got to get you to that next one and the next one. And I feel like with men, you know, we could get to it, or like some can pull out of that dark place on their own, but we weren't designed to, right? Like, I mean, we just weren't. We're human nature is not designed to do things on their own. Like, we weren't. That's why there's other people. That's why there is a need for a partner, right? That's why there's a need, because we're not designed to be on our own. We're not designed to do that by ourselves. And so it's like, but that's that managing perception. You don't want anybody to know.
I mean, the reality is, dude, like, when you're depressed, your phone does stop working.
It does. 100%.
And you stop finding ways to communicate with people. And so that's why you need somebody like close, personal, in home to tap in and say, hey, man, I got you.
How long was it I mean, for me, there's probably a gap between you and me talking.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I just went quiet.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same thing. Like, it just, my phone didn't work.
Yeah.
I didn't call anybody. No one knew. I just went dark. Like, you just go into that place of self-preservation. Mm-hmm. How do I make it through this? How do I had enough energy to do my job and to do it well still. And I had enough energy to show up for my kids. Mm-hmm. And I've always thought I've been a great dad. So, I had enough energy for that, but everything after that was dead. Like, I mean, it wasn't even enough energy. It was just running on no reserve, and then crash, and then try to make it through, then just get some rest and do the same thing the next day and the next day. But again, that's, we talk about in our kids, that's survive, not thrive.
Yeah.
Right. And I think our goal is, how do we thrive? Right. And so I just did all the stuff. Like, I went I focused on relationship with God, like realizing that there's something bigger than myself out there. So I dove into that. I have some amazing accountability partners that are, in the industry that you're in, but I've just known for years, and they've, kind of came alongside of me in this process of, like, hey, you need to get connected with God. You need to get connected with a body of men who can support you. So I did that. I went to counseling, and I still go. I go to counseling now. I mean, I love it. Like, it's like I'm paying you to do like some people like, can I pay you more? Or like, do I tip at the end of this?
You're like ripping me apart.
Yeah, but can I pay you more? And then hormones. Like I went to the doctor, got all the good stuff, and got balanced my emotional, my state through like testosterone and stuff like that. And, dude, just changes life, man. You got to do the steps though.
Upward and onward, bro.
Yeah, always.
So I'm getting the wrap up, man. Looks like we're running out of time. There's so much more to talk about, bro. Yeah. I'd love to schedule another session for you, man. Like, I feel like we're barely scratching the surface as far as what happens next.
Yeah.
Family life.
Yeah. Kids,
the restoration process. There's probably so much emotional obstacles in the house right now with, the mom being removed from the scene, because you're at home with 5 kids. Mm-hmm. And when you're raised with a family, man, being split at that age is awful, because all you know is together.
Yeah.
And now you're starting to understand and learn separate, and
exposure
to the way the world really works, and you can no longer shield them from how fucked up things can get, you know?
Yep.
But I'd love to tap in, man.
Yeah.
More than anything, I'm so happy that this is the path that you chose of health.
Yeah.
And positivity and restoration, because when the phone stops working, right? Like, you stop charging that phone, you start loading a magazine. And I'm so happy that through all of this, you found a reason to invest in yourself and be the best version of yourself and come out on top on the back end and be a positive inspiration from your kids. Because even if you don't see it, they see the fact that you're digging deep and you're finding a way to carry on, and that you're finding a reason to stay motivated and positive. It's not like you're just sitting on the couch eating fucking Doritos, watching reruns and sobbing, right? And though that might have transpired, like that ran its course, and now what they see is my dad, who is at the gym, drinking water, eating healthy, engaged, outside, sober, like, Jesus, bro.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to choose the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And I mean, thank you, because there's, like you did, you were one of those people who would reach out and just like, hey, just doing a wellness check. And, you need those. And those were when you realize you're not alone, right? So
a lot of us are broken, man.
Yeah.
And in some weird fucked up way, like, we take comfort knowing that we're not the only ones.
Right.
That's why AA exists, right? Like, you want to know that you're not the only person that struggles or that is suffering, man.
Yeah.
So, dude, I'll definitely get you on the books, man. I'd love to have you back in. I want to tap into so much more stuff, dude. Yeah. Love you, respect you. I'm by your side. My phone's on.
Thank you.
I can't wait to circle back and connect with you again. Before I close out the show, to anybody who's actually a viewer right now, I want to do a little quick shout out right here. I got the Cool Cat shirt on right here. This is my boy Carell Riley. This is one of his singles, man. He did my intro and my outro for the show. Total badass dude. Do you know Carell?
No, but I like the shirt.
Carell's the homie. He's been in the business for so long, man. I just want to make sure you guys get a good view of this. His stuff's up on iTunes, man. That's where I've been listening to his music. He's got, a couple dope singles. He's got some really cool, like, classy, jazzy, like, badass, funky music. Yeah. I reached out to him when I was talking about the podcast, man. He definitely, like, was all in. He's like, yo, let me make a cool intro, outro for you, man. So if you guys get a chance, jump on, check out, support the homie Carell. My boy right here, thank you so much for joining me today, man. I appreciate you. We'll definitely get you on the show again.
Let's do it.
For everybody else out there, like, subscribe, tune in, tell a friend, tell a dad, tell a mom. Until next time, keep it real. Thank you for joining us on the Dope Dad Podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to share it with a friend. You can support the show by giving a like, sharing, and subscribing, and you can find us on YouTube or wherever you're getting your podcast fix. If there's content you'd like to hear more of, please leave a comment. We'll make sure we try to get it in the show. Continue to tune in for more dope guests and real conversation.